Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning, or good evening, or good night in the land of YouTube. Who knows what time it is? I'm Chris Ridyard, Reds Report on a Friday. Again, here we go. Still no football. I'm not alone, as always. I have my sidekick, my number one partner. Well, I'm his sidekick, really. Maybe we're even.
Let's not get into that.
It's my favourite Dutchman, whichever way you put it. Carlo van der Wateren, good afternoon.
How are we doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, good, thank you. How was your week?
Busy. It always is. It's still,
busy.
Yeah, it's still getting used to being at home and working from home. It's awkward when you spend literally 24/7 at home, including working. But, when on a Thursday you're recording a couple of shows, that's the highlight of the week, isn't it? In the absence of football. So let's do it.
Let's do it. We're going to try and put a smile on everybody's face. So without any further ado, Carlo, shall I introduce our guest?
I think you should. He's been waiting in that waiting room so long, we didn't even offer him a drink.
He's waiting for you to show up, Carlo. Everybody knows what you're like. You talk for England and for Holland. Oh, goodness. Here we go. Have we got him? We're waiting on technology as it stands.
Oh, well, I'll let my hamster run a bit quicker on that wheel. Keep going, you.
Oh, he's here, look.
Oh, outside.
Good afternoon. Our guest at this time is Martin Devaney. How are you all right, Martin?
Yeah, very well, thank you. How are you?
Yep, very good. I'm very well. You've been a very busy man, just like my main man, Carlo. He's been busy at work. Busy day again?
Who, for me or Carlo?
Well, I've spoken to Carlo already.
It's strange times at the moment, isn't it? So just doing sort of fun things and relaxing. It's kind of hard to enjoy it with the situation.
It's very difficult.
Most of it, I really enjoy being at home, being around the kids and the wife. It's been good, but you feel a little bit guilty in doing that. But that's the situation, isn't it?
Oh, let's be perfectly honest. I'm sure for Chris as well. I love being at home with my wife. I love being at home with the kids. 24/7 is a bit much with all the distractions, and there's nothing to look forward to, is there? Normally, it's match day. Oh, we're going to do this, and I'm sitting in my kitchen working, and then I make the long trip to the living room, and I sit there, and then it's just really awkward. How about the lads at the academy, Martin? How are they coping with it? Because us as adults are thinking this is quite hard, but how about these youngsters?
Yeah, I think unprecedented times. It's difficult, but we're trying to support them the best we can, and we message them. I try and talk to them every week. Try and have that one-on-one call. They have their sort of physical programs, which Sam Barron looks after. So I think they're engaged in that twice a week. So we're just trying to keep the spirits high and keep them motivated, but most importantly, mentally, just keep them tuned in. And this will come to an end, and they've got to make sure that they're prepared right and they keep fit. So when they do come back in, they're at a level where they can, get straight on with some sort of pre-season and get back into games. So, there is light at the end of the tunnel, but we just got to be patient. But it is difficult, isn't it? It's difficult for everyone, So, but we are. We've been as good as we can be as coaches. We've been as good as we can be as a club. But at the moment, most of the lads are well and they're sticking to their program. So it's good. It's healthy.
That's good. You mentioned it's unprecedented times, and you hit there on head there, Martin, because there isn't a rule book for this, is there? This has not happened before. It's not like you can look back and go, "Oh, this is how we did it last time. That worked. This didn't. We'll do it like." It's like you're just making it up as you go along, with best of your own abilities, really.
Yeah. So we're all learning. Every day is a new day to learn, and they're fire questions at me. I'll fire questions at them. I haven't got the answers. By all means, I haven't got the answers. So yeah, you just try and do your best. That's all you can do, and all the lads are great lads. I'll encourage them always to be a good person, help your neighbours, help each other. And so far, we've done that, and we've done it really well.
I think.
What does go on, Carlo?
Yeah, we spoke with Jim O'Brien a couple of weeks ago, who's putting some hours in the academy for his UEFA coaching. We spoke to Rory Fellon a couple of times, who's obviously involved with the Plymouth Academy, and they were both saying completely unprecedented times, and now a lot comes down to character as well, doesn't it, with these young people? And you become, rather than maybe a coach, you become a bit of a mentor as well in these hard times, learning and people, coping mechanism and what to do. Is that something you enjoy, those sort of chats with the lads, or is your, is it all football, technique, fitness and nutrition?
No. It's not just, it's not just about the football. As a person, you have to care about the individual. I'm there to improve them all the time. Not just, the chances of them becoming a professional footballer are very, very, very small. So as a coach, I've got to make sure they enjoy it first and foremost. Otherwise, there's no point being there. They've chosen an industry that's ruthless. They know that the outcome isn't always what they want it to be. So I've got to make sure they've got other interests other than football. Whilst they walk into the building, it's 100%. But out of that, I encourage them to do other things. I encourage them to make sure their education vitally important. Because, the chances of becoming a professional, for these lads to walk out at Oakwell, it's so small. But we understand that. So we do our best as we can as coaches, as a club, to give them the right guidance.
Yeah. Martin, you mentioned being a professional footballer, and obviously you were one of many that have been lucky. Many have not been as lucky. Well, call it lucky if you like, call it hard work, call it right place, right time. There's a lot of moving parts, isn't there, and a lot of variables. Where did it all begin for you? So we go back to the start. Was it always football, or was there another sport, or was there another job?
No. It was always football for me from a very early age. I love my football. I love being out on the pitch. I love expressing myself. So I always had that sort of something inside me, whatever it is. Some people have. I always felt like I was going to be a footballer. I enjoyed school, but I'd rather be kicking a ball about. So should have paid a little bit more attention at school. So I think that's probably why I'm a little bit harder with my own two boys. I was into all kinds of sports. I played most sports, but football was always the one where I thought, that's where I see myself, and I'm going to work as hard as I can to give myself the best opportunity.
Was there a specific footballer that was sort of like on your bedroom wall that you say, that's my idol, or was it a specific team?
It was I think in my time, I think Liverpool were flying in the 80s, and then it was Man U. So I always supported Man United. I think I initially supported Liverpool, but we'll forget about that. So yeah, it was always Man United, and obviously of that era, those players, Giggs, Sharp coming through, various players. So yeah, I looked up to all of them, and ultimately my dream was to play for Man United and for my family to play for the Republic of Ireland, because they're obviously Irish. But I knew it was going to be tough. The first club that spotted me, sort of living where I lived geographically, it was sort of like your Midlands clubs, so Coventry, Villa, Birmingham. But at the time, it was Birmingham and Coventry that sort of pursued me. I signed for Birmingham. At those days, it was schoolboy, so it was 13. You couldn't sign for until then. I went on various trips between the ages of 10 to 13, but you couldn't sign. So I signed schoolboy at 13. And within a year, I was offered, I wasn't told, but they'd offered me a scholarship, so 16 to 18 and a pro. But my family kept that from me until I was in year 11 of my education, so to make sure that, I'd knuckle down and do my work. Right. Subsequently, Birmingham at the time, cut a long story short, Barry Fry was the manager, Karen Brady was, I don't know, was she the chief exec or something? Yeah. But they got rid of their youth program, 17s to 18s. So there was myself, John Eustace, you heard of him?
Yes.
Played for Derby, centre midfielder.
Yep.
2 other guys you wouldn't have, Anthony and Moses. So they didn't have a youth team. So we got to 16 with finishing score. And it was like, well, there isn't going to... They wanted to keep us, but we'd have had to go straight into the first team.
Right.
So with that, obviously other clubs got really interested. Went to a tribunal. Coventry ended up buying the 4 of us. So I ended up doing my scholarship then with Coventry. It was Ron Atkinson at the time, but I think he was only there briefly. So most of my time there was under Gordon Strachan. So yeah, it was a Premiership club. You know, unbelievable players to look up to: Gary McAllister, Noel Whelan, Darren Huckabee, Dion Dublin, to name a few. You know, and they were all really good guys. Helped me in terms of my education as a footballer. You know, but it was so hard to, you know, try and break through at 18, 19 years of age into a Premier League team that were ever present in the Premiership. Yeah,
unbelievable. And then how was that? How was it that you ended up at Cheltenham then? Where did that transfer come in at some point?
Yeah, so I was at Coventry, I did my scholar, I did a 2-year pro, and then Cheltenham had come into my hometown club. Cheltenham had come into the league. Steve Cottrell had done really well. I actually had a trial at Sheffield Wednesday under Ricky Hill? Do you remember him?
Rick Hill, yeah.
Rick Hill, the striker, do you remember? I think he was a coach. He wanted to sign me. I drove all the way up here. I think I was 3 hours in the car. I remember the little Fiesta with my mum, and I was in the back and my sister. Played in the game at the training ground now. I was a striker at the time, and I did score, and they offered me a year. But I just thought, this is miles away, and I'm a bit of a home bird anyway.
Yeah.
But that helped me in terms of getting into Cheltenham. So then Cheltenham, Steve Cottrell, I went in. I think I did a week's training pre-season, and then sort of the rest is history. I stayed
and
there.
Obviously you got that northern air in amongst your lungs, Martin. And once you smelt that northern air, you knew.
I knew in the future my days at Barnsley were coming. So yeah, it was good.
You were at Sheffield. You went, oh, what's that place over hill? That looks nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to be playing for them. So yeah, I think in terms of me as a footballer and where I needed to be back home with my mum and learning the game and being in a first team environment in League Two, knowing that I was going to play and had a good coach and someone to look up to, and Stevie would look after me. Yeah, I think at the time I made the right decision.
And then, one more question before we move on to Barnsley, and I'll pass you on to Carlo. You signed for Watford then before Barnsley. But I've got it down. You made no appearances for Watford, and obviously didn't. What happened there, Martin? Just fill us in that. So I'm just intrigued.
Yeah, it was a bizarre one, really. So yeah, I'd obviously done well at Cheltenham. I was on a free. I had numerous clubs. I met Adi Boothroyd. I was really impressed with how he was and what he put in place, and sort of seeing how the season was going to go. The players that he wanted to sign, and just got a good, you sit with someone and you just get a good vibe. And I just felt that, this guy's going to be good for me and he's going to improve me, and I'm going to play at a higher level. Watford was 2 hours away, big club. You go back to Graham Taylor days and John Barnes. So yeah, I thought at the time it was the right move for me. But initially I got to London and it was just like a whirlwind, it was, I just didn't envision it being like that. I think the actual sort of speed of the town, I was looking for a house, I was looking for a flat, because then you realise how expensive it is.
Yeah.
And I only had a year's contract. So yeah, it was good, but in terms of the season started, I felt like I had a good pre-season. I bedded in quite well with the boys. And I was contesting a position in Ashley Young. Now, this kid was good. And he was a homegrown talent. So I just felt it was always going to be difficult for me, no matter how I played. And I won't go into the ins and outs, but I played a particular game and I thought, right, I'm going to get the nod ahead of him here. But I just felt like no matter what I did, he was always going to get in front of me. And he started, to be fair to us at the time, Marlon King and Ashley, they started off like a house on fire. Well, the team did. We were top of the league. Inevitably that year, they got promoted the same year that we did. So after about 6 games, I went in to see AD. Hadn't played, and I just felt like at 24, from where I'd been, I wanted to carry on that momentum. And Barnsley, they were interested in me in the summer. Martin Wilkinson rang me, was on holiday, and I said, listen, I've already signed a pre-contract for Watford. It's done and dusted. And he was just like, keep in touch. We really wanted to sign you, but if you've already signed, it's done. So I said to my agent, are those options still there? And it was Swansea. Who's the Portsmouth manager? Kenny Jackett. So I spoke to Kenny Jackett. I spoke to Barnsley. I drove up. And straight away, as soon as I got there, Andy and Rick, it just made me feel at home. And I just felt like this is the next step for me. I just felt comfortable. The people seemed really nice. Just really relaxed. Sometimes it can be a little bit of falseness. But with those two guys, it was relaxed. And I just thought, right, this is right for me. And Barnsley were really committed, and obviously spoke to the chief exec at the time and how they seen the year was going to go. They wanted promotion. We're youngish team. Really big it up like they do. But they didn't need to. It just felt right.
Yeah, you believed it. You bought into it, didn't you? And,
yeah.
And ultimately, the town bought into you because of that, didn't they?
After time.
That's up for you, Martin. So if you screen, just pause a minute, and Carlo, I'm sure, has got questions.
Oh, this is where he shares a screen. Ta-da! There's nothing.
Yeah.
Here we go. Look at this. It's like ITV. This.
Look at that. What do you think to that, Martin?
Yeah, I like it. I never knew all that.
He's just going to check that they're correct, Chris. That's all.
So, over to you.
Is that the Brentford game? Yeah, I do remember the Brentford game. That was at home. And typically I struggled. I hadn't played in a while. It was a hot day. Yeah. And I struggled in that game. And my family had all come up. So my mum, my brother, I think one of my sisters was there. And they were in the stand. And I hadn't had a particularly great game. And it was sort of welcome to Barnsley. One of the fans said, was sat in front of me mum, and he was like, that lad, he couldn't cross for nelt, that lad. That Devaney, that bloody Devaney. So it was interesting, like, and, I got in the car and I'm quite quiet after games. It takes me a lot to sort of relax, and straight away, my mum went, my mum's quite cynical. She was like, didn't play very well, Martin, did you? And I went, nah, it wasn't the best of debuts. She said, nah, the fans didn't think so either.
It can be ruthless, them fans,
Yeah, they were ruthless. So, it was good.
Talk to us about the team that you sort of went into in that, 2005. Who were the players that you looked up to? Who was the ones that you thought, wow? Who became mates with you? I mean, I think we know some of them, but, just talk us through that team.
I think, like, the type of person I am, I kind of get on with everyone. There was no cliques in there. Straight away, McPhail. I knew all about McPhail, obviously playing at that Leeds, very good team, and Jacob Burns. Who else? Shuka. I knew Shukes, the ability that he had. Who else was there? Centre halves. There was Reedy. You had the local boys, Anthony Kay, Austin, Tungi. A well sort of mixed team, and some good characters and a lot of quality in that team. Obviously Bobby, I knew him from my Mansfield days, playing against him because he was young like myself, playing at that sort of level. Generally in football, most lads, but coming into that dressing room again, what a good group of lads, and they settle in really well.
Yeah, what a good mix of lads that is. I mean, you must have got on really well. It must have been a nice environment to be in, considering you've been at Watford and obviously you're on the cusp of the first team, probably not feeling as wanted. You come to Barnsley and obviously in amongst that dressing rooms, you must have done the right thing. They were
great. They were great, but Rick and Andy had a lot to do with that. And in that first game, and I think it was maybe the first two games, I felt like I weren't hit. Like anything, you want to impress straight away, and I didn't feel like I hit the levels I wanted to. And, they were like, just forget about it, you'll find it, come. And that's how they were. And they stuck by me, and thankfully, it all paid off.
There's been some memorable matches. I'm sure every time we speak to a player, they pick out one match. I'm sure for you, there's a few standout ones. Before we talk about a particular one, I spoke to Chris yesterday, and I'm always really interested in, if you look at the FA Cup run, you beat Liverpool, you've got Chelsea at home. You look at the team that they put out, and as fans, you go and you think, well, I'm never going to get to watch Chelsea live, am I? I mean, we're live on the BBC, and you look at the team, you look at us, you think, as long as we do our best, that's all I want. That's all I want. What sort of pre-match talk does the manager give you at that time? Because I'm telling you, I looked at the highlights again. I looked at the highlights again, and you look at, like, you know, there's like Ballack, there's Cudicini, there's Terry, and it was men against boys. It was us, you know what I mean? The chances we created, Ferracci, sorry, missed a really good one. What is said before that match? Is it go out and enjoy yourself, or is it we can win this, we're in this? And how do you do that now as a coach? Have you taken over?
Yeah, I think in those games, you know, there's no pressure on you. I think as a footballer, as an individual, they're the games you want to play in. So there's no real pressure. There's no expectancy of you're going to win the game. But you know, as fans, but as players, we always want to win. That's why, you know, players go on to do what they do. You have to have that intrinsic motivation. Going into those games, as individuals, you want to win. You want to put your stamp on the game. You want to be the giant killers. And we had that within the group. So going into the game, any game, you want to win the game. Yeah. You know, we're friendly. You want to win the game. You know, that's why you're there. That's why you play football. It's not taking part. You're not there for fun. First team football is all about winning. Not drawing, not losing, winning. That's what the fans want to see, whatever way. Yeah. In any way, in the right way, but in any way. So going into those games, you know, I can't really remember much in terms of the team talk, but we were organised, like you always will be going into any game. Simon Davey was, you know, very positive. You know, why can't we? Like any coach will be. And go and enjoy it and go and express yourselves. You know, you're going into a Liverpool game, Chelsea game, against some of the best players in the world. Why can't you? Then, like, the kind of mindset I had. Why can't I be the one that does a little bit and puts one in the top corner? Why can't I be the one who gets that assist? You know, does a little bit of magic. And then within the game, as it starts, like it did at Liverpool, you go a goal down at Anfield. You're like, wow, what chance have we got here? You know, you're not touching the ball. You're out of possession. You're keeping your shape as a winger. But then you get that moment, that's why we love football. You get the cross, you know, Fozzie's in there to plonk it in. You're thinking, wow, 1-0 at Anfield. Unbelievable. You know, walking out at Anfield, coming out of the dressing room, I looked at something, you know, I'm crying, thinking, like, you know, you never walk alone. I'm thinking, wow, I'm here. This is what dreams are made of. You know, I had tears in my eyes. I remember I was like, next thing, blowing a whistle to kick off. Because there's a lot of emotion there. My family's there. Your dreams, everything. So, yeah, going 1-0. And then, you know, you feel it in the game. I just thought at the time, I remember looking at the big, I got vivid sights of, you know, the big clock, and it's like Barnsley 1, Liverpool 1. Then we have that chance, Brian, and I'm thinking it should be a penalty.
Oh, yeah. Jeff Stelling going berserk.
Yeah, and then we just have that magic moment of, you know, Brian's individual bit of skill, you know, bad goalkeeping, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, you're beating Liverpool. And, yeah, so as a coach, Simon Davey, he was very relaxed. He handled it really well. And he did say, to answer your question, just go and enjoy it. And you know, the game at home at Chelsea, wow, you know, I think I might be biased here, but that was the best atmosphere of a Barnsley home game I've ever been to. Yeah. I don't think in the house, it was filled to the rafters. And, you know, unbelievable talent on display. And again, it was nothing different from Simon. It was just go and play the game, go and enjoy yourselves.
When Brian got fouled, Martin, could you hear him and his expletives? Could all the pitch hear him?
I think we were all shouting at the ref. You know, you can't switch off because in that moment Liverpool might counter on you. But we were all fuming with the ref, and I thought, oh, that's our opportunity. And then it was just a whirlwind that happened so quickly. Next thing you know, I see Brian, he's coming inside, and you just see it nestling, and you're like, you know, the emotion, everything, you know, it comes out in you. It was a surreal moment, an unbelievable moment, and, you know, one I'll never forget.
It's one of those moments that's replayed on sort of Saturday Soccer Special on the Facebook and the Twitter, when the goal goes in and Stelling goes, Simon Davey is telling his players to calm down. You're having a laugh, aren't you?
Yeah.
In the final minute as well.
Yeah, Simon, he as a coach, in that perspective, he has to relax, you know, to tell the players to relax. It's the natural thing to do. And as a coach, you will do, you know, see the game out, concentrate. So, yeah, he was saying the right things, and we did.
And has any of that rubbed onto you when you now, with your year group, facing whether it be a cup match or a team that's higher up in the league, do you give the same instructions, or do you have to do it different because of the age range and the age these kids?
I think personally now football's changed. There's a lot more detail. There's a lot more sort of technical, tactical stuff in the classroom. We've had to evolve as coaches. But in terms of like winning games, it's 23s football, so it's not about winning.
No.
That will come for me. It will come, but I'm more interested in seeing how a player develops, how he reacts. So when we go down, winning, that's the last thing that I worry about. First team's about winning, like I've already said. 23s is about development.
Yeah, getting them ready for that, getting the right mentality, the right mindset.
Yeah, and I suppose the last question for me before I hand over to Chris. It's great then to be a coach for the under 23s at Barnsley, because they're not afraid to give these youngsters a chance. We had some more. Did some more players sign a pro contract? Did I read a couple of weeks ago? Yeah. So the belief and I suppose the DNA they want to implement of bringing youngsters on or getting them from lower leagues, that has to give the players that are in your age group at the moment, great belief when they look at the squad and they see people like Aidan Marsh who went on like pre-season with them and in and around that first team. So that has to give you and the players, lots of hope that at least they will get a chance if they deserve it.
And Elliot Simowes as well. Elliot Simowes is a prime example.
Ultimately, the model we use, it's a fantastic model, and it's great for me because I know inevitably if the players do well, and it really helps me actually because when I'm saying these things, if you do this right, if you do that right, within games, if you're playing really well and people are watching, you will get a chance. And it doesn't fall on deaf ears. Some coaches I speak to at 23s level and you work in Cat 1s, they're saying those things and it doesn't really, it doesn't happen because certain clubs, they go and buy a player. But we know the model that we use here, it works. We know that the young players will get a chance. So that really helps me. And it's a great motivation to use for the young players because they have got a pathway.
Yeah. We've mentioned Simon Davey numerous times as we've gone on. Martin, obviously you played on.
I knew you were going to ask this question because you've asked it to a lot of the boys, and I'm surprised by some of the answers actually.
You played under. You put me on pressure now. I don't know what I'm going to ask myself.
Simon Davey.
Can happen on the Reds report, Martin. You played under numerous managers throughout your career, and I'm sure you've learned something off all of them. I'm sure you've picked up bits of advice that you've took on board and taken with you on your journey, and I'm sure there's stuff that they've done and you've probably thought, I'm not sure about that one, I'll put that one in bin. I just wondered if there's anything that really sticks with you throughout your career and anything that you took into your playing career, and then obviously anything that you've now transferred into your coaching career. Piece of advice, really.
Yeah, I think so. The sort of place I'm in now, having been in at Barnsley 4 or 5 years, I'm in a position where I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot in terms of my coaching. I've learned a lot in terms of myself. It's given me a great opportunity to learn new skills. As a football player, yes, I've learned so much from a playing side. And, when I got to sort of 27, 28, and I knew this would be my pathway, is when you start questioning the coach or you start questioning the manager, why am I doing this? And he's saying, and I'm like, but why? But why are we doing that? How does it relate to the game? So I knew I was quite inquisitive about why we were doing certain things in training. But in terms of what I've learned, what I have learned is I have to be myself. I don't have to be another Simon Davey or a Steve Cottrell or an Andy Ritchie. I've got to learn what's right for me and what I think is best. And that's how I see it moving forward. There's no point me on the sideline thinking, well, a situation happens. And again, like I can relate to the 23s, it doesn't really matter, but I know when they go into first team football, that I will get these situations. There's no point me thinking, what would Simon Davey do? What would have happened when I was 25 and Andy Ritchie would have done this? I've got to make my own decisions within the game. But those experiences I've had as a player, and certainly now as a coach, will help me in the future. So ultimately, just try and be myself.
What was the question did you think I was going to ask, Martin? What would...
Well, I don't know. It's like some of the boys about Simon Davey, like, I don't know, not too positive. And I'm like,
right.
Why?
That never happens on our show, mate.
Thing, like, the boys didn't like him, and
No, that don't happen on our show. I thought you were preempting my Sunday League question, which is I always ask the guests how they can make me a better Sunday League player.
Listen,
If you've got
we've
advice
only
from me,
Chris,
Martin,
train, work hard, mate. Train and work hard. Keep practicing. That's the best thing.
we've
if
only
Carlo
got
tells the same joke again here.
yeah. We've only got half an hour. Make him a better player. That's all I hear every week. How can I make myself start playing against boys your age?
Practice.
It's just practice, Martin. I will do that for you, and I'll let you know how many goals I score next season. I've got 15 to beat from this season. Carlo, it's yours.
Yeah, and I suppose then when you talk about present day, you talk about coaching too, really. First of all, we talked about the DNA of the club with the younger people, but that's also regarding management, isn't it? Paul Heckingbottom was the under-23s, moved up. Is that something that you envisage you'd want to do, step up onto the first? Obviously, when that opportunity arises, we're not going to talk about the current head coach, but is that something you can see yourself doing? Is your future fully into going as far as you can in your coaching career as you did in your playing career?
Yeah, ultimately, I want to be a first team coach. That's what I've set out to do. I miss that sort of competitiveness on a Saturday, but there's no rush. I've got to make sure it's right for me. But yeah, ultimately, that's why I'm in it. But I'm in a great position now where, in terms of the 23s, I love developing players. And you've got to make sure that you control the controllables. There's no point me being in the 23s but keep thinking about first team. I'm not that type of person. I'm all or nothing.
Yeah.
So I love doing what I'm doing, but in terms of me growing, me developing, then to answer your question, I do see myself as a first team, ultimately a first team coach or a first team manager or assistant manager in the future. But there's no rush. And we'll have to wait and see. But I love doing what I'm doing. I get great, kickback from seeing the players improve, and then getting to the first team, and then ultimately getting those appearances. And for me, it's even better with my history with the club, seeing them develop at Barnsley and being in that first team. Like you see now, Elliot, you see Marshy being involved, you've seen Ben Williams, you've seen Jacob Brown. So yeah, that's what I get my kick out of.
Yeah. What I suppose the pink elephant in the room is we're talking about football. We love football. It's your job. It's your passion. We look forward to the Saturdays, the home matches, the fan zone. It is a worrying thought. Obviously, health above everything. So it was great to see photos and videos from the training ground this week where the first team has gone back to training in small groups. A huge part of me as a fan, I have to be completely honest, is worried about the future of football. How long before we can have 12, 13,000 people at Oakwell again watching the football? Have you ever played any matches without any spectators there? Because I always think, the club is very good, not just Barnsley, every club. You're the 12th man. And you're thinking we all turn up and we sing and we clap. How weird is it playing without anybody there?
Yeah, it's strange, and it's going to be a bizarre situation. What's he laughing at? It's going to be.
I'm laughing at Carlo's question. It's just funny.
In terms of playing, it's going to be bizarre, isn't it? Especially at first team level. So I've played reserve games where the games don't really mean anything. You're doing it if you're a first team player playing in there. You're just getting your minutes, and hoping that you don't get injured because you're more focused on the first team. So yeah, it's bizarre times in terms of what's going to happen. I'm no expert. We don't know. As a fan, it's not great. Where's it going to lead to? You don't know. There's so many questions that needs to be answered. But in terms of the players, what I will say is those players are championship players, so they have to have that mentality. Well, they will have. I'm sure of it. They won't be there. They'll have that mentality that they take it as any other game. Because when you're playing, if you're in the zone, you don't. Sometimes, I say as a coach, you get in that zone where you don't really hear the fans. You're concentrating on your job. You've got to make sure you're doing your job. So, yeah, but there are moments in games where you need the fans and they can encourage you and you can be the 12th man, like you said. So it's going to be interesting. What I'm interested to see, when the team goes one up and then what will happen? What's going to happen in terms of the mentality of the players.
Yeah.
Because the fans can then be a big help to get that back,
Exactly. And you've seen it before, and I think we're quite good at it at Oakwell, that when we go ahead, almost, I can't say mocking the away team, but we're very much behind our team and clapping and cheering and really drowning them out. when we go one down at home and it goes really quiet, that's not very helpful either. I was thinking, if the Liverpool match, if you would have walked out at Anfield and there was no one, would you have had that extra adrenaline? And that's what I'm just wondering. Yeah. I've always thought Barnsley are at bottom. The fans can help them raise themselves. I think our club is good enough to play in this division, and I'm worried that with us not being there, that will be a huge miss for them. But I have all faith in the head coach and the players that, if and when football returns,
you're going to miss the fans. You will miss the fans. They create that atmosphere. That's why, that's ultimately why you want to play in front of the fans. You want to play for the team, but you play for the fans as well. And they are the 12th man, and it's going to be bizarre, but they're going to have to find something from somewhere. And for me, I don't want to. If I'm a player, they can't be going into games using it as an excuse. So already people are saying, oh, they're not fans, they're not going to be there. You paid to play football. You paid to play for that badge on your shirt, to give 100%. And you don't want to be coming up with excuses. Now, from that question, you're going to have players 10 games down the line that they're going to come up with excuses. It didn't feel the same. If the fans would have been there, it's excuses. Yeah. If you want to be a top player or you can't use excuses.
No.
So I don't know, but it is like, but I do feel for them.
Yeah,
I do feel for them, but they shouldn't have excuses as a footballer. Saying it's I miss the fans. Play the game, mate. Win the game.
The slide that we had up earlier, Martin, with your stats on, brought to us by Barnsley FC Stats. Andy does a great job. 18 goals is what you scored for Barnsley. Is there any that stick out in your mind as probably been your favourite, or is there a top three, or is there any that you think that was the one?
Yeah. So in terms of. There was a goal, so it was against Watford, the volley. They were on the left-hand side when I scored against them. So it was the first time I played against AD. They'd gone up to the Prem and then come back down. So there was a lot for me personally in that game. I wanted to sort of prove myself right, but prove a few people wrong. So to go on to beat them was good. Obviously, the Plymouth goal, I thought that was an unbelievable strike, the one down there. And then... there was a good one against Oldham, which again enjoyed because I think a lot of my family were there.
Yeah.
So they're the
you were
three for me.
motivated and hyped up by your family being present as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's interesting you said that. I've been watching the Michael Jordan documentary. I don't know if you've seen it, Chicago Bulls, the Last Dance. It's really good.
Yeah, I've watched all of
it. And it's amazing
to listen
to his mindset and how he manages to motivate himself for different situations. So, I mean, sometimes he's even made situations up, hasn't he? To basically try and get that mindset. Is that something you ever struggled with? I mean, you mentioned scoring against Eddie Bufroyd at Watford. You mentioned scoring in front of your family. Did you use them individually to motivate it? Or was it always, I just want to win the game? Or was there that little bit extra at times?
Yeah, I think, I had an intrinsic motivation in terms of, I always wanted to be the best player and I wanted to win games. But I always felt, I don't know, I lost my dad at a young age at 13 and I just felt like it was just me and my mum. So that sort of gave me, there's moments in your life and you look back on that moment in my life sort of helped me get through the tough times. And in football, when I was having a tough time, knowing that, I had to do this, I had to do it, I couldn't give up. To make sure that I was looking after myself, but more importantly, my mum and my family. When things got tough throughout my career, I sort of had, I don't know, just had that little edge sometimes at times where, if things got tough, that's what I used mentally to try and get me through those tough times or through games when I was struggling.
Yeah, so like the loss of your dad gave you like the toolkit effectively to deal with it. Was it also the motivation of, it's just me and my mum now, and I really want to succeed, not just for myself, but for my mum?
For her as well. Yeah, you have all those emotions. It's different things at different times. Obviously, then when I got older and had my wife, had my boys, it was for them. And even now, you're motivated to make sure you do well at work and do nice things and work hard. And so in terms of your boys, they're looking up to you, knowing that first and foremost you're a good person, but you for everything that you do, you've got to work hard and make sacrifices.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Martin. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and that's quite poignant, isn't it? Working in the field that I do in youth justice, we can go down with a lot of kids that we work with or young people that we work with that have experienced something like that, early bereavement, and they've gone what they call sort of off the rails because you can do it two ways, can't you? You can use it as a platform to make yourself better, or you can lose yourself almost, and you need to be that change, don't you? Which is something, again, I did with a young person. You need to be...
Yeah, what you're saying there. So I just, how can I explain this? I didn't, when you lose like your dad at 13, I always felt people felt sorry for me, but I didn't want people to feel sorry for me.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't need, you know, I didn't want pity. I didn't want that, but it made me kind of put a wall up and like, right, I'm going to show people, you know, and you look back on your life and certain moments. And I think, you know, being a bit older now and wiser, I think as a young kid, that's what I did. And I think that's what helped me in my life, and it sort of helped me, you know, doing what I'm doing now and moving forward.
Yeah, I can relate a lot to that, Martin. I lost my mum at 20, and since then I've gone on to do much more than I ever anticipated I'd do. But I generally believe it stoked a bit of a fire. Do you know what I mean? I think I kept that burning and just kept going to a certain. Like yourself, I put the wall up and I went into work the day after and just did it. And people were asking, "Why are you at work?" You know, I don't want to be at home. Do you know what I mean? I appreciate sharing that, Martin.
Like you said, Carlo, but some people, you know, they need, you know, they need, you know, that support mechanism or whatever.
I suppose for some people, it becomes a platform. I'll show you what I can do. I don't need your pity or whatever. I'm going to be good at this or this. For other people, it sort of goes downhill. Last words my father ever spoke to me, and obviously I only lost him 2 years ago, was feed your passion. Don't have regrets. If you believe in something, then go and do it. Don't sit at home and sleep as night think I should have or I could have. Feed your passion, because if you follow your passion, it's, you know, it's the right path in life, isn't it? And I suppose those are life lessons for the under 23s as well, aren't there? You know, it's not just about football these days. There's a lot of mentoring involved, isn't there, with these kids?
Yeah, we do. We do a lot of support, and it's a great, you know, what you say there. I always say to the lads, you know, with your mates in the pub, don't be a could have, a would have, or should have, because there's loads of them out, especially in football. And that's a great phrase to use. And, you know, I'm sure if you ask the lads what this dad is saying, it'd be that. That's what I say to them a lot. Because my family, you know, my family said to me, don't be one of them. So, you know, it's helped. And you try and pass that knowledge onto the players, onto the 23s. And generally, most of the lads, you know, are being excellent and they all want to learn and they're in there for the right reasons. They want to improve. They have to enjoy it. You know, I say enjoy it. I know there's a lot of pressure, which there is from outside, you know, your family, people. You know, we've got individuals now who are local lads and see little things, maybe added pressure because they're local, but we try and take that away from them and just, you know, just play the football, relax. It's important in the 23s that we're patient. That's an important word in football for me, being patient with these lads. You know, it takes time. So, yeah, we'll see. It's really good.
Before I hand over to Chris to talk about Room 102, we spoke to Rory Fallon a couple of weeks ago, and we asked everybody, if there was one thing in football you could get rid of, what would it be? Me and Chris will have a discussion, we'll make it disappear. Was it Rory Fallon that mentioned, Chris, because I can't remember, was it Rory Fallon said bad agents?
Bad agents.
Right.
Bad
so
agents.
I just want to ask.
What? VAR, they're the kind of things that
the agents, I just want to touch on the ages with Martin. Martin, is it your age group that sort of gets involved with agents at that time? And how does that go? Is that like a feeding frenzy with agents outside the gates waiting for these players to come out? Is there something the club does to educate them around choosing the right person? Or how? Because there's a lot of bad press out there, isn't there, regarding agents?
Yeah, so again, like we try and recruit, you know, good people in terms of me and Bobby and how we develop the players. We speak to them about agents. You know, they're a reflection on you. So when they're talking to me, they're a reflection of you, and you know, and what the person you've got in terms of representing you. So they get a lot of guidance, but ultimately it's down to them who they pick. And there are some good agents, lads. You know, you know, there's some good agents. It's not that
Mr. Howard's still one.
Yeah, Brian's one. Yeah, he's meant to be good. You know, I believe he's good. He's done all right. But then there are a lot of people out there who are just in it to make a quick buck, and you see it a little bit now. It's quite interesting. You just said that. I came off the phone about 2 hours ago, and they're trying to, you know, push players, and he's asking about money, and it's the last thing you should be asking about. Yeah. You know, the lad who wants to come into the club, he's just been released from somewhere, and he just needs an opportunity. You don't need to be talking about money. So straight away, my echoes go up, and I'm, you know, okay, we'll see you later.
Yeah, of course, because you're not just looking for the skill on the pitch, but you're looking for the right attitude and the right person, the right kind of mix off it as well.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, so there's good and bad in everything. So, yeah, agents can be good. Some of them can be bad.
Carlo, how much time have we got left? Have we got enough time to go down memory lane for 2 minutes?
Yeah, 2 minutes. If Martin has time, then yes.
How much is on podcast? Is there a time limit, Carlo, on the Zoom meeting?
No, it's just told me it's gone off the Zoom. There's no limit. It's been whatever, waved away or whatever.
Okay.
So.
Right, Martin, we'll not keep for much longer because we know you are the busiest man in Barnsley, or so you've told us. We'll have a look at this. Just have a quick glance at this. We'll go down memory lane. I guess my first question here, Martin, can you see that?
Yeah.
I guess my first question here is, where are you running to? Why is everybody else is clearly running to Nick Colgan, and you appear to be running somewhere else?
I think I've running over to the lads in the dugout. I did. I think I think I ran to the dugout. But to be honest to me, I just got head loss. Right, we went and it was head gone. I don't know where I was running. I think the shirt come off. I ran to the lads and they get hugged, and I ran down to all the Barnsley fans. So yeah, it was amazing when it. What a
feeling when you stood on that semicircle. Then I guess my other question is, we scored 4 goals. Well, we had 4 penalties. We took 4 penalties, and 4 was enough. I think we scored 3, did we? Where were you on that list? Were you 5th? Were you 6th? Were you down to take one?
No, I think I was. No, I was. Yeah, I was 6th. Sorry, I was 6th. Right. But I'm praying it wouldn't have to come to me. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. And the lads who were taking them, I wasn't that confident because we practiced in the week numerous times. But it's one of them. It's a lottery. It's how you feel. And I think I said to Andy, it depends how I feel on the day. And to be fair, the last half an hour, I felt like I'd done that much running. There was numerous of us coming down with cramp. I think there was Bobby. I think there was Bry. I think there was me. And my legs had gone, and I was getting cramp in my calves, in my hammies. So yeah, I was worried about taking the penalty anyway. So when Andy Ritchie did ask, the lads that sort of put themselves forward, you just let them get on with it. And it was a case of just, everything crossed, fingers crossed, toes crossed, and just saying your prayers. But the lads who took them, they were really calm, and they executed the skill and scored the penalty really well. So it was fantastic. And obviously,
we talked to Rory about that game. Obviously, he was on the losing side. Wonderful goal by him. Obviously, we did mention it, and I did tell him I have forgiven him for his guitar celebration finally. But he said that you guys were struggling. He felt that Swansea could win in extra time. They were on top, but they kept missing chances. And I think Rory just felt at that point it was your day. Did you feel like that?
Yeah, I think there was moments in the game where they were certainly on top. But with that Barnsley team and the characters we had, we were never going to give up. So we've seen that throughout the season. And to be honest with you, I'd never felt so confident going into the game. I don't think I was thinking about this the other day. I don't think for 1 minute did I think we were going to lose. Honestly, I didn't think we were going to lose. I just felt so positive leading up to it. I'll tell you a little story. So that summer I was getting married, and the family and the wife were really worried because obviously we got to the playoffs, and my wedding was a week after.
Right.
So the family were thinking, oh my God, if he loses this, you won't be able to talk to him for a week, never mind the wedding. So it all fell into place so nicely, to winning and then obviously getting married the week after. But there was probably little moments in the game to answer your question, but I always felt confident that we would win that game.
I guess, Carlo, one more about the penalties. When you mentioned the players, Martin, who were taking the penalties, be honest, who was it that you were most worried about when they put the ball down? Which one was
all of them. It was Shooks who scored. Did Shooks take one of them? Shooks, the second one, wasn't it? Was it Shooks?
I think so. I the one that I remember most is Paul Eckingbottom, because he screwed it right into the corner, didn't he?
Yeah, I wasn't, honestly, the penalties we'd done before, I wasn't that confident. So I'm so pleased that Swansea's penalties were horrendous and we managed to tuck it in. So yeah, it's good.
I've put another one up for you, Martin. Did you manage to recover in time for your wedding? Because I mean, I've lived in Barnsley for a long time and I've been out on nights out, but you look like you've had a good night there.
Yeah, so Yeah, so the boys, straight after the game, everyone went back to Barnsley. I had my stag do. So my stag do was cancelled that weekend, but all the lads, all my friends, all 15 of them, and now all my mates, they came to the game, and we went straight back to Birmingham, and we went out in Birmingham. And then I came up on the Monday for obviously this in the town hall. So yeah, I was struggling. I'm not going to lie, I was struggling.
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like you are.
I mean, so the lads, you know, it was my stag do, and it was the celebration of Barnsley being promoted. So it worked out great.
Best summer ever.
You managed to recover for the wedding then, just.
Yeah, I was fine. I was fine for the wedding, just about.
And I guess that's the pretty much the last one wanted to end. And we talked about it earlier, the Liverpool game. Whose shirt have you got on there, Martin?
Harry Kewell's.
Harry Kewell.
Not a bad choice. Not a bad choice.
Yeah, it's probably the only one you could catch, Martin. I bet you got tired legs again there.
Yeah, I was trying. Well, I think everyone was after Gerrard's, or we were after, you know, but he wasn't very forward in giving his shirts out. Him and Carragher. You probably heard about that story, but yeah, that was the one I managed to get. He was a top player, wasn't he? Especially at Leeds and then Liverpool.
Room 102, Chris.
Well, yeah, room 102. Where do they rank in games, Martin? Chelsea, Liverpool, and the playoff final. What would be number one? If you could play it all again, which one would it be?
Good question.
All of them.
The final, that was an unbelievable day. With all the fans there, yeah, you know, what was there, 25, 30,000 to replicate that. And then it'd probably be the Liverpool-Chelsea game, or, you know, the other way around, vice versa.
So Carlos mentioned room 102. What would you get rid of out of football, Martin? Anything. We're going to get rid of it for you.
Get rid of?
Yeah.
So we've had referees. We've had inconsistent referees. We've had, what did Jim O'Brien say about social media?
Social media, VAR.
Yeah, VAR. Wind. That was Andy Clark at the club, because then he can't have a fan zone. So wind for Andy Clark. I thought he had a gastro problem, but he meant the wind outside on match day. So is there anything you'd want to get rid of?
Or do you just love it, Martin, the way it is?
I think maybe the VAR could be. I like the VAR, but I think it needs to be improved. So I don't. Yeah, maybe in terms of how it's done logistically, you know, done better organised.
Lovely, Carlo. I think they'll pretty much reach a natural end as always on the Red Report. I've not mentioned, Carlo, that you're Dutch today, so I'll just remind everybody that's watching that you're Dutch.
Yeah, well, it's 1-1 now. You've talked about your football career for the cross keys in Manfors or whatever you play for. Whoever wants you these days, isn't it? He's been on a Bosman free for the past 20 years. So, and you've mentioned my nationality again, so it's 1-1 again, Chris.
That's it. It's 1-1. I mean, Martin, you're no longer a foreigner. You're in a.
His Dutch Barnsley accent is unbelievable, isn't it?
It's crazy, isn't it? Well, it's similar to yours, Southern Barnsley accent. I mean, it's not entirely south, but for us, it's south, you know? But you're adopted Northerner, really. You're a Barnsley lad now, aren't you? And that's it. There's no way back.
Yeah, what is it, 15 years now, and both my boys were born here, and yeah, we love it here, and this is my home. To be here for 15 years, and my boys, they're proper Barnsley boys. So yeah, great, love it.
Good man.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Reds Report. Carlo van der Watering, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thanks for inviting me again. Always good to know you still got my number.
Well, it is our show, so you're like. Martin, we really, really appreciate your time. We know you are the busiest man in Barnsley. All jokes aside, you are a very busy man. You wear a lot of hats. I have no doubt that it's not slowed down at all for you. We really appreciate it, mate. We hope you come back on another time and just chew the fat with us. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah, more than welcome. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Spot on, Martin. You have a nice weekend. Ta-ra.
Cheers, chaps. See ya. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Ta-ra, bud. Bye.